Hey, Tom.
Hey, Jason.
It's the season premiere!
Oh. Of what?
I mean, you can't just yell that and have it make sense?
Oh. I mean, we're kind of we don't have an off season, JC.
Well, neither does Raw, but Monday is the season premiere, Tom.
Okay, well.
Whatever that means.
I guess September is the time of season premiering TV shows.
It was.
So.
The Grey's Anatomy season premiere was tonight, Tom.
Oh, well. What are we on? Like season 23 of that?
16.
Wow, really? Oh, my God.
Yeah, it needed to end 2 or 3 seasons ago, but somehow we're still milking it. And I'll keep... At this point, I have such a time investment, I can't not keep watching it. So I'm like, whatever. Show will outlive me.
It's like that show. Now, have they announced technically it's a final season, or are they just
no? They are all signed through next season, so there's a 17 guaranteed as well.
Oh wow, okay. Because I know Supernatural, a show that was pretty much going to last longer than several networks it's been on. They've announced that this season will be the final season, and they could easily keep going. I mean, their ratings have been consistent. Their writing's been pretty decent.
Yeah. Unlike World Wrestling Entertainment.
Yes, that's kind of a segue of its own, but
yes. So I guess this week we'll talk about it's the season premiere of wrestling. Period. Next week.
Yeah, because it's been reruns all summer.
Right. So we've got Raw and NXT, of course, the new SmackDown on Friday, AEW on Wednesday, NXT on Wednesday. It's a new era. So, yeah, I guess Impact's on Tuesdays. Now,
yeah, we've been watching that a lot.
I just want to throw it in there. They're still. I would still put them as the third major promotion in front of Ring of Honor.
It's a perfectly cromulent promotion.
Yeah, they do fine things.
They do. It's just no one's watching them. That's kind of the issue. It's
but maybe they will now.
A little spit shine and I don't know.
Yeah,
some promotion or maybe a name or two that you would know, because I think that's their main issue is that they don't. I mean, they kind of cut all the fat, or not the fat, but I mean all of like the name brandedness of the TNA part kind of away from them. And now they're just kind of like hardworking, straight up quality wrestling over an Impact. But at the same time, it's who are these guys?
All right, that was our entire Impact talk for this season of the Cheaters Never Pin podcast.
Until next season.
So, Tom, let's start the season off right. What do you say, buddy?
I'm ready if you are.
All right, ring that bell for me.
Sure thing.
You're listening to the Cheaters Never Pin podcast, a proud part of the Section 328 network, bringing you all the best in wrestling from WWE, New Japan, and beyond. Now, live from ringside, it's Mr. Workrate and JC.
Oh, buddies. It's the Cheaters Never Pin podcast. My name is JC. Here next to me at the commentary table to the stars is my good buddy, Mr. Workrate, Tom.
Great to be here as always, JC.
But little does he know we're changing the commentary table.
Did you go to Party City and get a new tablecloth?
I did order one on Amazon today.
Ooh.
I did order a tablecloth on Amazon today, so yes.
There was a quality sale. I brought that sale to your attention. So
you did. I didn't end up buying anything from the Amazon warehouse 20% off sale,
of which you first go to cheatersneverpin.com, click on the Amazon affiliate button, and then do your Amazon shopping there. Anyway, continue.
Yes. I ended up buying a tablecloth for tailgating purposes.
Yes, because that's coming up in a week.
Oh, boy. God help my soul / liver / sweat glands / heat regulation, since it's going to be 93 degrees in the Yoke City.
Yeah, because that's October weather right there.
No, nothing says the start of the NHL like 93 degrees and sunny.
Like me being in a t-shirt and a pair of cargo shorts going, I wish I was wearing less clothing.
Yeah, I'm going to bring 4 t-shirts, I think, is the goal.
Yeah,
It's just going to change every 3 hours.
You need the cycle. You just. I mean, it's funny because I'm preparing for this the same way I prepared for the tailgate that we had a couple of years ago when we had the constant rain, where it's like I'm planning on 4 changes of clothing.
Smart. That's just being smart.
And it's just completely different because it was heavy layers of clothing back then,
Right.
knowing that it was going to get soaked. These are going to be very light layers of clothing, which will also be soaked because it'll be 90-something degrees.
Yeah. Here's how I'm preparing. There we go.
Yeah.
I figure if we stay slightly inebriated from now to next Thursday, we're probably good, right?
That might work.
Yeah. Really get the pacing down.
I was in Food Lion in Clinton.
That is a place.
I've been exploring the state again for work. Was in a Food Lion Clinton and saw another 12-pack of Natter Days.
Oh God, why?
Which has been the Natter Days have been marked down. At least to 12 packs. They're trying to get rid of the 12 packs. It seems that they're still going with the suitcases because suitcases are still in the cooler, but the 12 packs seemed like they were kind of a limited thing, kind of like almost like a summer end cap where they had that. They had the weird Bud Light tea version, which I liked, but it's weird. And some other stuff where they're just trying to kind of clear that out to get all the, the fall beverages in there.
I tried the Natural Light seltzer.
Yeah.
During week 1 of college football. It was tasty. I'm going to be honest. That was the first time I also tried Natter Days. I took 1 sip and I think I chucked the can across Silas Creek.
I'm a little disappointed in you.
I did not enjoy it.
Natter Days are the most easily poundable beverage. As long
sir,
as you're not expecting beer. It's
sir,
not beer.
Sir, White Claw would still like to have a word with you.
No, you can pound. I will say this. I will say this too.
Okay.
You have not, I don't think, experienced it yet, but the what's it called? I can't think of it. But the Carolina Hurricanes beer.
Storm Brew. No, I had it last week.
Oh, you did have it. Okay.
Yes.
That is quite the poundable beverage.
Yes. Apparently, there's another beer out there who I will not disparage. Because of reasons. But there's another beer that has forced me to boycott an entire brewery. So, those of you who know. You know what I'm talking about. I thought that's where you were going to go with that. And I was going to be like, no, Tom. No, I haven't had that beer with an anthropomorphized wolf on the outside. Yeah. But we're not going to discuss that here.
Because of...
For reasons.
Because of school loyalty?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't put that on my mouth.
Okay.
In my mouth.
Well, I will say this because I have, as a influencer, I got some
Fans hashtag.
Yeah.
Hashtag ad.
I got a 12-pack before they were officially released to the public.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I still have a couple. I don't think I'll need to bring any to the tailgate. But I've had them, and if you've had the Storm Brew, that particular beer tastes like the Storm Brew heavy.
Okay.
They have a similar flavor profile, but I find that the Storm Brew, which it was explained to me, is 4.2%, 97 calories per can, so it's a light beer.
That's perfect. That's perfect for sitting watching a hockey game or sitting out in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a lighter, it's a lighter drink. So it's almost the Bud Light, Bud Heavy kind of thing where they are similar profiles, both get a little bit yeasty, so you almost get that little bit of pretzel flavored in there.
You were talking about getting yeasty, and I thought we were going to go into a Sunny story. I was like, whoa.
I did not want to go there.
I was trying to pivot it back to wrestling. But yeah, next Thursday is, of course, the Carolina Hurricane season opener. As those of you know, that's our other great love in life. And we'll be out there tailgating in the East Lot. So for more details, whenever they're available, visit section328.com.
Yeah, I'm going to assume that our friends at the Cheaters Never Win podcast will be having a podcast of their own sometime between now and then, where they will release information about said tailgate, when you can come, who might be there as well with food and beverages and things like that.
We'll be there. And, that's all you need.
Yeah, I mean, that's the important thing, is that we'll be there. But,
your two favorite wrestling goofballs who make jokes about Sonny's yeast.
But, if you get there too early, then it gets a little awkward.
Yeah. All right, let's pivot. Let's go to wrestling. I had all these jokes lined up, and I was like, no, I don't want to disgust everyone 10 minutes into the show.
I was going to mention you drinking too much and getting a little handsy, but that's more Flanagan.
Listen, I'm not... Okay, it is me to a certain extent, and anyone who knows me can... Yeah. I'm not having tequila. I think the plan this year is I'm going to stick to beer other than my own pudding shots, which have been made in a controlled environment.
Yes. As I have learned and made the mistake of numerous times, one of the biggest mistakes you can make at a tailgate or any Flanagan function, actually, love you, Mike.
We're just putting it on him.
Is if someone says, "Here, drink this," and then you ask, "Oh, what is this?" and then they just repeat the command.
Now, I think you still do it. I think it's then on you to make sure you're consuming the right amount of the beverage. Just take a sip. Just get enough to wet the palate and move on.
Take a sip or a shot or whatever the case may be, and just know that, okay, that's one, because only when you consume one will you find out what it is.
So to that end, also, this is why you follow that strategy, and here is why. I can't remember if it was the last time I was back in Winston or 2 games ago, whatever. When we were tailgating for football. By the way, who runs the state right now? Wake Forest. Someone handed me a mason jar, which it should have, number one, let's stop there. That should have been my tip as to what the hell was going on, right? And he's like, "Oh, try this. It's orange creamsicle." I don't know. I was still sober at this point.
There's several flags for me there. But okay.
Yeah, it was... I don't know. I was tired. I was not drunk either. So I only took a small sip of it. It tasted good. It came back around a second time about an hour later. And I took maybe a double sip, if that makes any sense, right? Maybe an ounce.
Right.
Until I found out when I got home, they were like, how much his moonshine did you drink? And I was like, that was moonshine. Number one, incredibly well made, because you would not have known.
Right. The pretty much the rule of moonshine is when you consume moonshine, you make a face. Because that's what moonshine is.
Yeah.
And moonshine burns.
And it was in a mason jar. I should have been smart enough to do it and then proof it myself. But I didn't. Anyway. Enough about that.
Yeah. This has been Cheaters Never Go to Tailgates.
Next Thursday, sometime. Section328.com.
Come on down. There are a few seats still available for the season opener.
Yeah.
For now.
A few. I believe there are also season tickets still available. If you want to just come hang out with us 41 times. Come on.
42 if you count the next preseason game tomorrow.
Ooh, yes.
Or
and 43 if you count.
As you're listening to it.
Yeah.
Because no one listens to this immediately after it gets uploaded at 11:30 at night or whatever.
Yeah. It's funny, if you look at the stats, there's immediately all these downloads where everybody's apps are pulling it in automatically. as they're like pinging the servers. I'm like, no one's heard it yet though. All right. So, as we alluded to at the top of the show, this is the dawn of a new era, my friend.
It's a new season.
I think it's a whole new era, right? This week in professional wrestling.
The weather's changing.
Channels are changing. Commentary booths are changing. A lot of crazy crap going on, right?
Some people are returning.
Yeah, we'll get to all that. But let's start with the biggest piece of what will happen in the next 7 days of professional wrestling, right? I don't think anyone would disagree with that.
No.
AEW Dynamite debuting at 8 o'clock Eastern on the TNT network Wednesday night. How are you feeling about it right now, Tom? How hype are you for it? What are you looking forward to? What are your where are your expectations right now for the first episode of AEW Dynamite?
I've tempered my expectations, mainly because I haven't watched too much. I haven't really watched that much of the pay-per-views or anything like that. I've caught matches here and there, that type of thing, but I haven't been hardcore watching every YouTube video and that type of thing. I'm excited for it, just because, again, there's another weekly television show that's going to have budget behind it. And people that, supposedly have new ideas and that type of thing. So I'm excited for it. Whether or not it's going to work, I don't know. But, any kind of excitement like that. I mean, if you found out that, Impact had gotten purchased by some big money person and was putting on a show on TNT, it would be exciting. So I'm excited for it.
Remind me to come back to a big money purchase of Impact, by the way.
Okay.
I've got some news for you.
We're talking about so much Impact on this episode.
This is weird.
That's got to be in the title at some time. The one where we talk about Impact.
Can we just can that be our new naming strategy? It'll just be like the Friends naming strategy.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. That's easy. It's just literally, here's what we talked about.
Yeah.
I feel very similar to you. I think, especially looking at, for some reason, I can't get off of Reddit ever, which is a problem. At least it's not 4chan. But I can't get off Reddit. And everyone seems to think this is going to be the greatest thing to ever happen to professional wrestling on day one.
Yep.
It's going to be good, right? I don't think anyone is going to argue with that. And but I think people need to realize this is episode 1 of a new company that's never done live television before, other than pay-per-view, but we're not going to count that. But a live weekly series. There are going to be bumps in the road. Episode 1, they've been so focused on it for so long. I have no doubt Wednesday night they're going to go out there and put one of the most memorable episodes of weekly episodic wrestling television we've ever seen out. Week 2 has the potential to be a very different story. I think there's going to be a letdown there, right? Because they're coming in with all this creative energy into episode 1, which, and I think Cody and the Bucks and the Khan. I'm just going to call him the Khan, not Tony Khan. The Khan.
The Khan.
Yeah. I think they realize. I think their long-term strategy exists. I think it's there. I think they've got those plans in place. But it's hard to keep that internal energy, if that makes any sense, of like your own personal motivation. Because once you've done it the first time, nothing else quite lives up to that. So I have no issues with what episode 1 is. I think it's going to be perfect. Episode 2, I think we're going to see complaints everywhere. And it's not going to be the fault of AEW. It's not going to be the fault of any of the talent. It seems to be everyone was so jacked up for it to finally start. Now they're like, yeah, but now it's just a wrestling show on TV. It's like, yeah, it is. That's the point, guys. Like, so I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what the heck happens here.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's something to look forward to, but there's part of me that's morbidly curious about how this whole plays out over the next couple of months.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I think that they've got it booked, at least for a little bit. This isn't Vince McMahon changing the script every week and, 500 writers going in 500 different directions. So I think at least for the short term, there's going to be a specific plan in place for everything. But
they have the conscience of mind to know that we need to plan.
But it's just a question of how long is that going to last? And if ratings start to drop and the con gets a little bit, upset, or the network people get a little bit upset and go, hey, we need to do something.
Yeah.
How quickly is AEW going to go from their plan on paper to hitting the panic button each week in an effort to one-up NXT and WWE and all that?
Right. It's a very good point. People just need to be aware. It's like the quality probably won't drop from episode 1 to episode 2, but it's going to feel like it does because your emotions have calmed down.
Right.
So I'm cheering for him, though.
Because as we've said in the past, wrestling is great when there's competition.
Yeah. Exactly. It's going to be... I mean, look at how good NXT's been the last 2 weeks on USA, right?
Yeah.
Because they know this has been the beginning. This is the beginning of the war. They're getting the first shots in early. They've put on probably more incredible shows the last 2 weeks than they've done the last 2 months on the network, right?
Yeah.
So here's what we know is going to happen Wednesday night on Dynamite. Jericho and 2 mystery partners take on Kenny and the Bucks. In what I'm assuming is your main event. Because why not? Because that's your biggest star, right? And your champion,
right? Who
has the belt finally?
And the person who, let's be realistic, the most people know.
Yeah, he's the one that's going to put those butts in the seats.
As much as we love Cody and the Bucks and Kenny Omega, it's Jericho that's... I mean, he checks every box. He goes back to the Attitude Era. He's knowledgeable with more recent wrestling fans that maybe were watching, mid-2000s. He's knowledgeable with the new fans now. He has respect of the Japanese marks. It checks every box.
Nyla Rose takes on Rio for the first AEW Women's Championship. Cool. I really have no strong feelings towards either one of them.
No, I think it's I think it's interesting I think it's good that they're putting the women out there to say, hey, we are a well-rounded wrestling organization. We have women, we have men, we have tags, we have international stars. It's good to throw all that out there at once to kind of give the sampler kind of package of what you're going to have at AEW.
My main concern with this, Nyla Rose is not the person that should be competing for the title.
Yeah.
There are far, far, far many more talented women on this card. Or in this company, I should say. She's green. Like, she's not great in the ring. Period. And depending on what circle you say that online, you're viewed as transphobic for saying that. And I'm not saying it in that context.
Right.
Like, I don't care. That's Nyla. She's a woman in the end. Like, that's all I care about. I'm just, like, she just shouldn't be in this position right now. Because she's not there. Britt Baker's there. Brandy's there. Any of the other Joshi girls are there. So it begs the question, are they just doing it to get that exposure on a level of a company being like, look at us. We have a trans woman fighting.
Look how progressive we are.
Like, are we outwoking ourselves here?
Yeah.
And again, I think it's just, I'm purely basing this on her work rate. She's not good. But I just feel like they're trying to outwoke themselves. And that's where my problem lies.
And I assume that's going to be the only women's match on the card.
As far as we know for Wednesday, that's correct.
Right. And part of me was thinking, well, put her on the card. Don't, make it a whole, put her in title contention necessarily, but have her on the card so it's a talking point, when TV reviewer type people, if they're doing TV reviewers or wrestling people, when mainstream kind of has to review this or talks about it, that's going to be a talking point.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be a talking point
for winning the title.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and I'm sure I haven't seen a lot of interviews with her or anything like that. I'm sure her viewpoint on this is, putting a trans woman in a position of any level on national television like this creates visibility. It helps to open acceptance. It helps to make it I hate to say a more normal thing. That's not how I want to phrase this, but it helps to bring visibility and to the trans population. There we go. I think that's how I want to say it, right?
To make it more mainstream.
And acceptance. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, to make it more mainstream and to try to garner more acceptance. And I think that works on any level. It just doesn't need to involve the title for that reason.
But when you're trying to shoehorn all this stuff into 1 2-hour show.
Mm-hmm. I will give AEW credit, though. I don't know at all, and I'm trying to think back. I don't know that they've mentioned that Nyla is a trans woman at all.
I have not necessarily.
I think it's more mentioned in backstage interviews. It's more mentioned in the press than anything, and I think they know that. So maybe my view on what they're trying to do is so jaded by what WWE has done for so many years in the Stephanie McMahon quote of philanthropy is the new marketing.
Right.
Which is the truth. I'm not going to debate that point. It's still gross. It's just an interesting topic, and I think it's one to watch, right?
Yeah.
And it's a tricky subject to talk about. So let's see. What else do we have? Paige at Hangman Page, not Page here Page, but Hangman Page takes on Pac.
I was kind of excited there. It's like, oh,
yeah,
what a coup!
I mean, Page versus Pac. That match would probably bang. Let's be real. If we're talking Page, woman Page fighting Pac.
I just want to hear that interview back and forth. I won't understand a word of it.
Like subtitles. So this is the match we were supposed to get at Fight for the Fallen, right? No, Double or Nothing. Double or Nothing was where this was supposed to happen.
Double or Nothing, yeah. Because that was the second pay-per-view.
Right. So that'll be cool. So I'm down to see that. Let's see. MJF takes on Brandon Cutler. It's MJF. It'll be great.
Right.
I'm in. Just watch him be the best heel in the business today. Cody Rhodes takes on Sammy Guevara. Cool. That'll be good too.
Yep.
And Jon Moxley will make an appearance.
With his cyborg arm.
Yeah. they're just going to replace at some point.
I would watch that movie.
I mean, he should have never left WWE. WWE Studios would have made that.
Yeah.
It's the $1 billion man, but starring Jon Moxley.
It's some bizarre combination of the Ted DiBiase gimmick and the bionic, parts.
He's so rich, he's just replacing his own body parts.
He's a cyborg, but he's also, cruelly taunting youngsters trying to dribble a basketball.
Now I just want to see cyborg Ted DiBiase hanging out with Virgil, just giving him orders.
Virgil would also have to be a cyborg in the threat level midnight.
Yes.
Dwight Schrute way.
But I feel like he's a cyborg just made of Olive Garden breadsticks. It's actually not very well put together. This was not a great thought out plan, but no. he's made of Olive Garden.
We've chosen poorly.
Yeah. Okay. So that's AEW Wednesday night. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Mo wrestling. It's a good thing. As we alluded to, Monday is... I can't even say alluded. We flat out said it. Monday is the season premiere of Monday Night Raw.
Really? I
don't know if you'd heard this yet.
I wish we had spoken of this earlier.
What did you know less before this show started? That Becky and Seth were dating, or that Monday was the season premiere of Raw?
I don't know. These are both well-guarded secrets in the industry.
Okay, good. So we have a title match. Seth and Ray. Sure. Is
Ray's
my entire thought on it. Does he? Or is the Fiend absolutely interfering?
No, Ray's got a shot.
Okay.
On any given Monday.
He's not Rob Van Dam. He's not Mr. Monday Night. Okay. So Monday's there's other stuff happening. I don't know what it is. But we do have a new commentary team. In fact, all the WWE commentary teams have changed, except for the NXT brands. So, 2 of them out of the 4. So, let's see here. Monday Night Raw. At the 3-man desk, it's Vic Joseph, Dio Madden, and temporarily, Jerry the King Lawler.
Puppies!
Okay, I'm excited to have Jerry back for a little while. I'm glad they've even been like, it's just temporary.
Yeah, I've seen stuff online recently, and it's just, the whole outrage type thing. Like, oh, I'm not going to watch wrestling anymore. Raw just lost me,
Over Lawler, there were people, I didn't see any of that. Were people saying that because they're bringing Lawler back?
Yeah. Get over yourselves.
It will literally be fun for a month, and then it won't be.
He's just going to throw the occasional one-liner out there. I don't know. And this is so not meant to be an insult towards Renee Young by any means, but how is Lawler throwing out the occasional one-liner and dad joke that much worse than Renee Young just going, wow, every, 3 minutes?
Yes.
3-man booths are not good.
Right. Which is why SmackDown is going to 2-man, Michael Cole and Corey Graves. I think that has the potential to be outstanding.
It does.
Because Cole is good when Vince isn't in his ear, which is going to make him even worse because he's now on the Fox show, where Vince will be constantly in his ear. And I think Corey and Renee were great together for a while. And then they just became like, oh, let's just bicker back and forth because we think it's funny, and it wasn't funny. So I think having Corey back by himself is a good idea.
Yeah, and I was starting to get to that when we transitioned over, which is fine. The 3-man booth that actually worked, going back far enough, was the 3-man booth in WCW where you had
Shivani, Madden, and Dusty.
No.
No?
No. Mark Madden in nothing is ever nothing.
Okay.
Stop. Don't make me show myself the YouTube video. Anyway.
Okay.
No, I was just going to say you had Shivani, Heenan, Tenay, where you had Shivani was pretty much the pitch man. You know, he had to be the straight man, do the play-by-play, that type of thing. You had Heenan, who, when he was on at least, was entertaining. You know, he had the one-liners. He had, you know, he was ideal from a color commentary kind of standpoint because you don't need two analysts necessarily. But then you had Tenay that could just kind of roll in there and go, yeah, hi, you guys don't know what you're talking about, so let me intervene and give some information about these people that you know nothing about. So each person had a particular role. You didn't necessarily need Tenay talking over people, and sometimes it kind of it clashed a little bit sometimes when Tenay got too excited about particular matches, like say when the Luchadors would come out and he'd want to kind of give all the information, and Tony's just like, yo, this is my damn show. And they'd kind of bump heads a little bit there. But I mean, for the most part, each person has a particular role. It works fine, but you're not. Now there's all these 3-person booths where you have generally a play-by-play guy like a Michael Cole. You have a secondary heelish kind of person involved, and then you have a third person, and that third role isn't necessarily well defined. Like, do you have it as another heel? It's almost always another like former wrestler or something. So do you try to figure out what kind of role that person has, and it ends up being somebody kind of like in the background going, I feel like I should say something here, so I said it. Like Booker T for the longest time would just kind of try to find a way to shoehorn himself in and go, you know, throw out some kind of vague reference or say something where people had to stop and go, what did you just say, Booker?
Right. Well, get ready for more Booker T every Tuesday night at 11 p.m. alongside Renee Young, starting on, I have the date written down here somewhere, November 5th. There we go. On FS1 WWE Backstage. This is the news show they've been talked about. It's officially announced, officially exists. There is going to be one episode that airs during October after I think it's ALCS Game 3 will air live on FS1. Cool.
Okay. Well, I thought you the way that you were speaking made it seem like you were continuing to talk, so I was just kind of letting you go.
Oh no, cool was my final thought on that. Cool was just like, cool. I mean, I'll watch it. I'll watch the first few episodes to see if there's anything of worth there.
I mean, there's potential talking smack potential there.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. But my thing is with it being Tuesday, in what I assume will be the Fox Sports studio. I mean, are they going to have talent travel there?
Oh, right. It's because, SmackDown's on Friday, so...
Right.
I don't know. Is it going to... Are we going to break out the Tuesday Night Titans set? Or instead of Vince McMahon and Lord Alfred Hayes, you have Renee Young and Booker T, and to do things like Morocco Vice and Fuji Vice. That's what it was called.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean that'd be great, but I'm pretty sure it's just going to be. Here's a recap of what happened on SmackDown and Raw and NXT.
Yeah, for those of you who maybe aren't as old as I am, TNT, not the channel, but the actual show, Tuesday Night Titans, was a WWF show on the USA Network. Mondays, in kind of the Raw spot now, they had I can't think of what it was called off the top of my head, but they had like a studio show where it was like Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan would kind of introduce various stuff from TV from the weekend, house show like matches. They'd have interview segments, that type of thing. It was just kind of across the board. But for a period of time, they decided to do, I don't know if USA said, you know what, we need more WWF programming or what. Vince McMahon had this idea for a Tuesday Night Titans show, which was basically it was like a late night talk show format where Vince McMahon was the host and Lord Alfred Hayes was his sidekick, and they had like the whole thing where he had the desk and they had the couch and they'd bring people out. And it is on the network. You might get through an episode or two before stabbing yourself in the face.
Yeah, it's a hard watch now. The show you were thinking of was Primetime Wrestling.
Primetime, yes.
Yeah. So with all of these changes and everything coming, here's your new weekly schedule. Monday night, Raw, USA Network, 8 p.m. Tuesday night, Impact on Access, which, by the way, this is what I was going to tell you. Tom, Mark Cuban owns them now.
Oh.
Or owns part of it. I think Anthem still owns a good chunk of it. But Access Entertainment, which is the Mark Cuban company, now owns a significant chunk of Impact Wrestling, which is why they are on Access. Followed by WWE Backstage on Fox Sports 1 at 11. On Wednesdays, NXT, 8 o'clock USA. AEW Dynamite, 8 o'clock, TNT. Ring of Honor, midnight on Stadium. It's the biggest national outlet to watch that on.
I don't even know what Stadium is.
It's Sinclair's national sports network.
Sure.
So usually it airs on like whatever your Sinclair station is. If that was, let's say, 12.1, this would be 12.2 over the air.
Okay.
Yeah. Thursday nights, NXT UK airs 3 o'clock our time, but Thursdays, NXT UK on the WWE Network. Friday nights, SmackDown Live, 8 o'clock on Fox, and 205 Live at 10 o'clock on the WWE Network. And then Saturday nights, New Japan Pro Wrestling on Access at 9 o'clock. Literally every night of the week, except for Sunday. So not literally.
Which is when all your pay-per-views are.
Yeah. Except for AEW pay-per-views, which I guess will still be on Saturdays, right? When is Full Gear? Is that a Saturday night?
I think so.
I'm going to look it up right now. Or as I just Googled it, AEW Full Gear. Takes place November 9th. That doesn't... You know what? You should put Saturdays in front of these things, folks. Let's pull up a calendar. Ugh. Wikipedia, you're useless. November 9th. Oh, that's October. November. Yep, it's a Saturday. So AEW will have Saturdays on lock.
I mean, which is the right thing. There's no reason to put pay-per-views directly up against other pay-per-views.
That benefits no one.
That was the Jim Crockett idea, and you know Jim Crockett, the Jim Crockett promotion that runs now, right? Oh wait,
you mean WWE because they own all the assets?
Yeah. Jim Crockett was pretty much out of the wrestling game by 1989, so
yeah, that didn't go so good.
Look up the Bunkhouse Stampede if you get bored.
Yeah.
That was pretty much the end.
Yeah.
And it happened at Nassau Coliseum.
Did it really?
It did.
Why the hell did he film up there?
because you coming into my territory, well, I'll come into your territory.
All right.
And I can remember being a young wrestling fan going, this is freaking awesome. I can't believe that the NWA is coming to my area.
Yeah. Yo, I get to see Mid-South. What up?
I can see Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes, and yeah, well, it didn't exactly go that way.
No. Last major piece of news from this week. This is news from today, actually. It appears as if Johnny Mundo, Johnny Impact, John Morrison has re-signed with World Wrestling Entertainment and has taken his talents back to Stamford.
Where he'll be Johnny Stanford.
What a terrible name. Is there even a Stanford sports team he could represent?
No, they don't have professional sports in Connecticut, JC.
No, I know, just Stamford. Specifically Stamford. I know there's professional sports in Connecticut. I mean, they used to have
there's
hockey.
There's no professional sports in Connecticut.
Oh, I see the joke you're getting at. He just comes out in Carolina gear. Oh. So, I mean, that'll be fun. That'll be good to have him back. That's a good signing. Just actually use him, because I think he's grown incredibly as a performer. Not that he was bad in WWE in his first run, but I think he's on a different level now.
Yeah, he's a hell of a worker. I think he's probably one of the most underrated. I don't know if he's necessarily underrated, because if you talk to people that actually know, like, they're like, oh yeah, he's great or whatever. But like a lot of people, there's a decent amount of fan base that really hasn't seen him in years because he hasn't been in WWE, and you know, it's they're not necessarily, they weren't watching Lucha Underground or
hardcore fans know him. Casuals do not. And casuals are the biggest piece in the market.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm excited for him. Also, sign his wife, please.
Yeah.
Thank you. How great would that be to have Taya in the women's division? Like a Taya Charlotte feud would bang, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could get behind that.
Yeah, I have no more to add to that except, yes, those would be very good things.
Yeah. What else we got this week, Tom?
Oh, sorry, I was still looking at the Bunkhouse Stampede 88 card.
Just because. Hey, I was born that year. When was that? I guess it would have been January. I wasn't even born yet.
Yeah, we haven't done a Tom's Old reference
in
several weeks.
It was long overdue.
Yeah, January 24th, 1988.
Oh, I was like still in my mother's womb.
Yeah.
A little less than a month, and that exist. Maybe my birth killed Jim Crockett Promotions.
No, it was this card.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so short story basically is, so they started having these Bunkhouse Stampede Battle Royal type things where dress however you want to, come to the ring, and, you know, it's just traditional Battle Royal, but it was a Bunkhouse Battle Royal, so everybody would come out in, like, sleeveless t-shirts and cowboy boots and jeans, and half the people would get busted open, and that was just, you know, kind of the way that it worked. And they did these all over, like, when they were doing their tours. So supposedly, if you won one of these Bunkhouse Stampede Battle Royals, you would qualify for the Bunkhouse Stampede Finals, where the winner would get money and this cool trophy. So, great. So this whole thing was based on like a kind of a pay-per-view that Jim Crockett Promotions was going to do as a competitive thing. They were going into the New York market for some godforsaken reason, running the craptacular Nassau Coliseum. And they put together this card which seemed okay, but it ended up being like some of the guys didn't end up showing. It ended up being only 5 matches, and the pay-per-view was only 4. There's a dark match that started, and then you had 4 matches. A singles match for the television championship was Nikita Koloff versus Bobby Eaton. So one half of the Midnight Express, which Bobby would have carried Nikita to a pretty good match there. Larry Zbyszko defeated Barry Windham for the Western States Heritage Championship, the only time that title changed hands. Ric Flair defended his NWA World Heavyweight Championship, losing by disqualification against Road Warrior Hawk. And then the Steel Cage Bunkhouse Stampede was the final match. 4 matches, 20 minutes, 19 minutes, 21 minutes, and 26 minutes. That was the entire pay-per-view.
Wow.
Also, Vince saw that the pay-per-view was going to happen, so he decided, hey, you know what we should do? Let's do this free show on the USA Network. We'll call it the Royal Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And then, who ended up winning the Steel Cage Bunkhouse Stampede? Well, Dusty Rhodes did, of course, because can't have the Booker man not win the Bunkhouse Stampede.
Yes, sir. Gotta win my own match, you know. That's the only impression I don't do very well is Dusty. Every other one's spot on. My Dusty's not good.
That's good enough.
You know, Tom, it's just a little bit of this, Southern wrestling. I gotta put myself over.
Yeah, it's getting worse.
Okay, I think it's getting better, actually. She needs practice. Okay. My Terry Funk is number 1, right? We all know that's like it can't be beaten.
Yeah, obviously.
Tom, I should have won that Bunkhouse Stampede. I should have been in it. What else do we have to talk about, Tom?
Do we want to approach that thing that I had mentioned earlier?
Yeah, that was my setup for you.
I wasn't sure if you just, wanted to talk how Terry Funk was a pedophile. I don't know.
No. Never once have I said Terry Funk was a pedophile.
If that is anything other than the pedophile from Family Guy's voice, I don't know what is.
No, that was me doing Terry Funk. Me doing Herbert, the pedophile from Family Guy. It sounds something like this. It's a little bit of, come here, muscly arms. But then Terry Funk's like, I gotta be a little quieter. I gotta be a little more, just got a little more bass in my voice.
Yep, that's totally different.
Just listen back. When the show goes live, listen back. You'll hear it.
Yeah.
Just slow it down to half speed. Put it in your podcast player. Actually, rewind like 30 seconds now. Put this show on half speed and listen to that. And tell me at JCBobbitt, at JCBOEBITT on Twitter, that's not the best Terry Funk you've ever heard.
So speaking of Twitter,
Segway.
There was a question that was thrown out there to Wrestling Twitter about live wrestling. And it was just pretty much a rundown of, with live wrestling events, what was the first live event you attended, what was the most recent live event you attended, the best one, the worst one, what promotion had you seen the most, and what promotion had you never seen but wanted to. So I figured that was a good topic of conversation since we don't have a whole bunch of pay-per-views to analyze. So I'll hand this over to you. What was your first? Now, we're talking about wrestling events, so I'm assuming it's I'll take out house shows.
Ooh, okay.
But I mean, you can mention a house show too if you want to. Be like my first actual wrestling event ever was a house show.
Yeah, that's correct.
But my first like big event where cameras was say a Raw or a SmackDown or a pay-per-view.
I can answer all this really quickly, which is sad.
Okay.
I've only ever seen WWE in person.
Okay. That's false. Next.
How is that false?
I swear you were at an NXT show with me.
That's still WWE.
It's not. It's a completely different company.
Okay. All right. I've seen WWE and WWE NXT.
Okay.
My first show, I want to say it was like 99, 2000, somewhere around there. In the Greensboro Coliseum. It was a house show. And if I remember correctly, the main event was The Rock and Triple H.
Sounds about right.
Which I was super stoked for it because it was my boy Triple H, and he lost, and I was real pissed. I think this may have even been while Kane and X-Pac were a tag team.
Where Kane was wearing his non-existent green outfit.
Right. This may have been before he learned how to talk. I can't remember. But that was my first house show. I just remember we all got a copy of WWF The Music Volume 4 on CD as we left the stadium.
Nice.
I was like, that's a pretty sick, like, free gift, even though I'd bought it like 2 months earlier. I was like, I've got 2.
Volume 4 was like one of the major ones too.
Yeah.
That was the one that had like, I don't know.
But yeah, that was my first show. It was a birthday gift from my parents, and that was awesome. My first live television taping was this is when SmackDown still aired on Fridays and was taped. So I want to say it was like 2014 or 15 in the Greensboro Coliseum. It was right after Mania by a couple of weeks. So the group that was there was really trimmed down because they were all leaving for the UK either that night or the next morning.
Okay.
But I remember the main event was a John Cena Bray Wyatt match. So it was after WrestleMania 30. So that was cool. That was a fun show. I've been to Raw once in the Greensboro Coliseum. There's just such great history in that building for professional wrestling anyway. So and that's
definitely
home. That's home for me. I've been to SmackDown Live here at PNC Arena once. The best show, I would say the worst show I've ever been to live was that SmackDown taping. Not that it was bad. It was just whatever, because half the roster was missing. The second best show I've ever been to was the live Raw I went to, because that was the debut of the Golden Truth.
Oh.
Also debuting that day. I can't even remember what... it just totally left my brain. Whatever Primo and Epico started, then they started their travel agent gimmick. They debuted that day with the travel agent gimmick.
Ooh.
I did get to see Ric Flair, of course, because there was a contract signing. For I think it was Charlotte. Natty had a match coming up soon. The best show I've ever seen, though, was this past January. NXT in the Durham Armory.
Yep.
I can't even put into words just how awesome that entire show was. Start to finish, nothing dragged. The crowd was hot the whole time. It's in the Armory, so it's got that. It sounds so disparaging when I put it that way, but it's got the indie feel to it, the kind of Revolution kind of vibe to it. but it's still got the backing and the production and just the smoothness of a WWE event to it. Like, everything just goes off without a hitch, perfectly smooth. There's no downtime. And all the matches were insane. My favorite part of that whole show was being the only person in the building cheering for Rhea Ripley and yelling horrible things at Bianca Belair for 20 minutes. But that's fine. Why not pin the champion? Who cares? That makes total sense. But no, that was awesome. That's my best one. Anyway, I think I covered all the questions, right?
I think so. Oh, now, what is a promotion that you've not seen but would love to?
So, I'm going to answer this question twofold. One, I'd still love to go to the UK. Now, I'd love to go to the UK and watch Progress. I would love to go to, like, when they have their big show at Alley Pally, or I almost would rather go to the Electric Ballroom in Camden, right? Because that's home base for them. So that's like, the typical gathering of the ultras. Like, that would be cool as hell to me. I would also love to go back to any point during Flair and Steamboat's run in a time machine and just go to one of those shows.
Okay.
Because I think it would just because, damn it, was still real then.
Right.
So, there we
go. So my first show, which I think I've talked about on here before, was actually a pay-per-view. So it was the first ever SummerSlam 1988. The Mega Powers versus the Mega Bucks. Which was only the second most memorable match to me on that card, because that was the night that the Honky Tonk Man proclaimed that he would take on any wrestler in the house, because he was to defend his Intercontinental title against Brutus Beefcake. Beefcake had been attacked the previous week by Ron Bass, who took a spur from his boots and rubbed it against Beefcake's head to bust him open. And I just remember the giant red X being put onto the TV screen, so you couldn't see the blood.
Right. It's family promotion.
But you could still see the blood, but you couldn't see the blood.
Right.
But, drama. So Bruce Beefcake could not participate in that match, so Honky said he'd take on anybody in the house, and dun 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 dun. The Ultimate Warrior came out in his greatness and bounced around for 31 seconds and won the Intercontinental title, and that building exploded.
Yeah, man, that's cool. You get to watch him run out, blow up, and have a match.
Yeah, it was quite easily the best Ultimate Warrior match I'd have ever seen.
It's a short list.
Yeah. The most recent wrestling event I went to, I guess, was the SmackDown that we went to. When was that?
NXT was after that.
Well, that was the last house show that I went to.
Oh, okay.
The NXT show.
Right, sorry.
The last event with like cameras or whatever would have been that SmackDown at PNC. Was it last year, I guess?
Yeah, it was
wasn't this year.
It was a year and a half ago. It was like spring of 2018.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the last show that I had been to that way. The best show that I went to, I will agree that NXT show was great. I think my favorite card, though, that I can remember pretty much match for match was CyberSlam 99 at the ECW Arena.
Okay.
CyberSlam was a whole weekend kind of thing where they had the card, but they also had like, it was a big fan convention type thing before that was really a thing. And I mean, they would get like the local Holiday Inn or whatever, they just kind of like rent out like a conference room type thing, and they just put everybody out there, and they do kind of meet and greet type stuff too, and you get pictures taken, and then Heyman would sit there and talk for like an hour straight. It was the greatest thing ever, because you just wanted him to talk, and for the most part he stayed in the background and tried not to participate. And then finally, like, Tommy would, or somebody would just be like, Paul, you can explain this better, and he'd just be like, no, you guys do it. And then, because the moment Paul took the mic, it was just all over. But card wise for that show, since it's actually up there, Jerry Lynn took on Tajiri. We had a super crazy match. Takumi Shinoku took on Papi Chulo, who ended up being Mr. Aguila and all those type of people. Yeah. It's just still when like WWF was feeding them the occasional wrestlers. That's why Taka was there. Rob Van Dam beat Too Cold Scorpio. Chris Candido came back, which was a complete shock to everybody. Then had a good match with Taz where they fought into the crowd. And if you watch the television, you actually see them fight into the crowd. It's on the network somewhere. I forget which particular episode. You see them actually bump into me.
Hey! Tom on the network.
Yep, I am on the network. Tammy looked great. I think that was peak Tammy at that point. But when Back in Black hit, like, that was such a crowd pop. Shane Douglas beat Just Incredible. The Dudley Boys teamed with Mustafa to take on New Jack, Axl Rotten, and Balls Mahoney in a Ultimate Jeopardy match, which was not exactly a fun match per se, because there's a giant jumble of everything, chairs being thrown and just plunder everywhere, if you will. But it's like the matches in particular weren't specifically great, but the whole event as a whole was just an awesome show. And just ECW events at that time were just fun to be a part of in general. God, worst show I ever been to. That's tough. Because I haven't really been to too many bad shows necessarily.
Yeah, I'd say bad's a hard one, because even if you're there, you're having a good time, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, I think that thing's kind of like, I've never really been involved with too bad of a stinker necessarily, and you run into that every once in a while. I mean, it happens sometimes. Just a card doesn't click, or you have a couple of no shows or whatever. I've never really run into that. I don't know. I might even say that that last SmackDown that we went to might have been one of the worst shows, just because it's watching a SmackDown taping in contrast to like a house show or things like that. It's become too much of a television show where somebody comes down to ringside, but you have to cut for commercials, so they're just awkwardly standing there at ringside, and they're not necessarily using a ring mic necessarily, and it just it's awkward, and there's no flow to it, and every match is like 45 seconds, and it's just
WWE TV tapings are exhausting.
Yeah, it's
I'd like to add one promotion I'd like to see, and have a very specific instance, and this is another time travel one. I'd like to travel to 2001 to go to the Impact Zone to see TNA Victory Road.
Okay.
Because I'd like to be in the audience for that mess at the end of the show. Just to see what it was like.
2000 when now?
11.
Okay.
This would be the infamous drunk Jeff Hardy.
Right.
Jeff Hardy, Sting, Bischoff.
Yeah.
Because it's such a weird moment in history.
Yeah, that's just kind of weird.
Yeah.
So promotion I've seen the most, that's tough. I'm going to lean ECW because I was going to shows almost every month at that point. So, through like 97, 98 or so, when they were doing bus trips from Queens to Philadelphia, I got to go to the ECW arena like every month, and that spoiled me pretty badly. But I mean, they would. I've seen WWF probably about as much, so that's probably a toss up there. What haven't I seen but would love to see? It's a toss up for me. Like, I don't know if it's because of the atmosphere in general. I'd love to go to a New Japan show. I mean, I love Japan in general, so I just love to be in Japan, just, regardless of whether or not I was there for a wrestling show.
Right.
But I think it'd be very cool to be able to see a New Japan wrestling show, especially in one of the smaller facilities. Not necessarily, I mean, although I may have to backtrack that because I have seen New Japan.
Yeah, you did. You went to Charlotte.
I went to Charlotte and actually saw New Japan. I'm like, wait
that doesn't count. We're not going to count that.
So, well, then I will go to my other pick, which is I'd love to see a AAA or a CMWO show in Mexico.
We should just go down to Mexico City one Friday night. Fly down for a weekend?
Oh, yeah. Sure.
You can do that pretty cheap.
That's a thing we can do.
How many people are going to Mexico City, Tom?
Yeah. But, yeah, I just think it'd be kind of cool to... I mean, because the crowds there get, like, so super... they're still so super into it. And it'd just be kind of cool to see, like, luchador wrestling in, like, the home of the luchador. So
yeah, I'd love to go to Mexico. I'd love to go to Japan. I'd love to be in the Tokyo Dome. I'd also love to go to Budokan Hall or Sumo Hall. It'd be cool. All right, that's a fun experiment. Tell us all your answers to those questions on Twitter. Reply to us at CheatersMVRPin. Let us know one or two or all of those things,
or just tell us at the tailgate next week.
Yeah. Thursday. Time TBD.
Yeah.
TDB. TBD?
Sometime in the afternoon.
Yeah. Just follow us on Twitter. We'll let you know. All right, Tom, tell the people where they can... Oh, go ahead. You were going to say something. No.
I was just going to say, bring ice.
Bring all the ice and sunscreen.
Yeah.
All right. Now tell the people where they can find you on the internet.
Go on the Twitter machine at Mr. Workrate, at MR Workrate. I have an Instagram, and I posted a whole bunch of pictures of when I played floor hockey against various other media personalities, which was fun.
Yes, he did. You can find me on the internet at JCBobbitt, at JCBOBBITT, wherever finer social media is purveyed. You can find the show on Twitter at CheatersMVRPin. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. Show us some love there. Next week, we'll be back with... Boy, the season premiere of Raw and our impressions of the first week of AEW, I guess. What day we're going to record next week, I have no idea because it's not happening Thursday night.
I'm sitting there doing the math in my head, too, going, ooh.
That may have to be Friday.
Might have to be Friday. We might have to take off a week. Who knows?
Yeah. Just, we'll get around to those things on our next episode, whenever it happens.
We'll record a live one at the
tailgate. What do you think about like 4:00 too? We're just
We won't actually record it. We'll just be yelling.
Let's just do it. I'll bring the soundboard. I'll bring all the equipment, but there's no way to plug it in, so we're just doing it into the mics. I was like, what are those two doing? Don't worry about it. Yeah, so we'll catch you sometime down the road.
Yeah.
For the next episode of the Cheaters Never Pin podcast. So until then, I'm JC.
I'm Tom.
And we'll catch you on the flip side.